The drummer, who had a bass drum, had pinned to the back of his coat a handwritten sign that said, "A lot of things are actually okay in the world." Every October, the city of Somerville, Massachusetts, hosts a quite remarkable music festival. It's called HONK, and they spell it all in capital letters with an exclamation point. HONK is a marching band festival that takes place in and around Davis Square in Somerville. And bands of all shapes and sizes and stripes from across the country, and even some from overseas, gather and perform their marching band music with the drums and the horns and the everything in and around parks and street corners and wherever they are scheduled to perform during the day. Think of an old-fashioned football halftime show, but with more glam, glitter, punk, drag show, improv, and general chaos than would ever be allowed on the field at halftime. A few years back, 5 or 6 now, was hanging out at HONK with my son and a couple minister buddies and their sons. And we were standing near the corner of a park where one band was getting ready to go on the stage, take their turn after the band that was on there came off. And as has been so easy to do in the last 5 or 6 years, we were all lamenting the latest tweets from you-know-who and whatever natural disaster or terrorist act or awful thing had been going on that week. And then my son raises his arm and points to the band warming up, getting ready to go on stage. And they were dressed in kind of ragtag marching band jackets. And they all had wonderful shorts and tights and stuff on. It was quite a look. And the drummer, who had a bass drum, had pinned to the back of his coat a handwritten sign that said, "A lot of things are actually okay in the world." "Good thing to remember," my son said. I know I raised him right. Indeed, there are still things that are okay in the world. The ability to be grateful for what is okay, even in the middle of things that are really difficult and sometimes tragically horrible, is a gift we give ourselves that helps us survive, hang in, promote hope, and do the work that's necessary to make things better. It works. The scientific studies, as we heard in our reading, are fascinating as they dig further into the difference between causation and correlation between some of these things. They're finding direct causation in some of them. And the research is fascinating. I can't encourage you more to check this out. It's really amazing. And I sit and wonder, as we celebrate the flower ceremony this morning, how Reverend Chopek became such a master, champion, practitioner of being able to see what's okay in the world. In the concentration camp, he celebrated this ritual with weeds and flowers. They killed him, but they did not destroy his spirit at all. I always find his story so powerful. The ability to hang in, live your values, do what's right, and even see beauty in the smallest of things. We don't have saints in Unitarian Universalism, but if we did, he's my favorite. He was a former Catholic, and he was really able to live what he said he believed in. So I aspire to do whatever I can to be like him that way. Our lives and times aren't even close to his, And it can be so easy to lose sight of what's good and right and helpful and hopeful. Blessing tends to get lost in the choruses of cursing all too easily. I think celebrating blessings, even the tiniest of them, are a resource for us who work to keep our world and our time from devolving into what Chapek faced. Evil hates beauty. Evil can't stand blessing. Evil gives no thanksgiving and hates gratitude. Evil despises hope and optimism. I refuse to give them up. Blessing, you see, is not some lightweight anti-intellectual throwaway of an idea. Blessing can too easily be dismissed as being grateful for cake or the rainbow or your birthday present. But gratitude and blessing are deep, serious business. When we only think of blessing in terms of supernatural gifts bestowed by some deity, blessing loses all its grandeur. And we miss an opportunity to add a bit of celebratory joy to our day. We mostly associate even the word blessing with phrases like God bless you. And although that's wonderful if that's your spirituality, it's not even necessary for deities to bless us. We can bless each other. We can bless the world. The world can bless us. Blessing is a gift, an acceptance, an approval, a recognition, a welcoming. Blessing is wonder and love and joy. It is a powerful thing. It's a word and an idea that seems simple enough until we try and define and describe it in detail. And because it has such an association with phrases like God bless you, I think if we limit it to that, we barely scratch the surface of blessing. It's a noun and a verb, a gift, an acceptance, the act of giving those things, the act of receiving them to be blessed. They're not just divine, they're given and granted by people to each other. And sometimes they happen for reasons unexplained or unexplainable, or for no reason at all. Sometimes blessing needs to be sought and asked for to be bestowed. Sometimes being blessed requires a shift in our perspective, learning how to see something as a gift, even a weed in a concentration camp. Learning how to recognize hope in the smallest of joys, a lesson, an insight, not just a problem or an adversity. Sometimes blessing is just noticing beauty or kindness. We ritualize blessing in so many ways. We bow, we namaste, we lay hands on someone, we share meals, we give thanks for food, we speak words of greeting, we speak words of love. I learned blessing from my mom. I grew up in a house with the biggest backyard in the neighborhood. How I lucked into that, I have no idea. Probably because the other two big yards both had pools, so we had a yard. I grew up a block from the elementary school I attended. And every spring from when I was in 1st through 6th grade, my mom invited the entire grade to our house for the day. We would go into school, they would take attendance and do all that stuff, and we would be marched down to my own house and hang out and have snacks and play games and have fun. And then I would have to even go back to school down the block and then come home again at the end of the day. Can you imagine any elementary school allowing this to happen today? I cannot. But my mom invited that class over every year. And she invited some of her friends over who had to go to the school and get approved and all this so the teachers could sit around and have iced tea and not have to supervise us most of the day themselves. My mom was a single parent, 2 boys, overworked, underpaid, always broke. I would learn later she was kept constantly financially afloat by her mom and her aunts. And yet, she took a day off every spring for 6, and my brother's couple 8 years, because his class got this too. She did this twice every spring and did this blessing, this gift for me and my classmates and my teachers. It's amazing. I didn't realize how profound this was till many decades later. At my 30th high school reunion, someone whose name I had forgotten came up to me and said, "Thank my mom for when we went to your house every spring." Wow. You never know the kindness you bestow, the joy you take the pain to make happen, the gift you offer blesses others and the world. And you can do this too. One of the other things my mom did growing up is that somehow every year, someone we knew. One year it was one of the babysitters herself, a single mom who watched my brother and I after school till my mom got home from work. One year it was one of our cranky next door neighbors, and boy, was that guy cranky and mean. Somebody we knew got $100 cash in an envelope in December from Santa Claus. I learned in college it was from my mom. And she would, I remember, put her little $5 away every week in her Christmas club to make sure we had stuff. And her mom and her aunts would give her some stuff, so we had holidays. And she took some of that and gave it to somebody who needed it more than we did. Blessing the world. So powerful. You may think you don't have a storehouse or a warehouse so big from which to draw the kind of blessing that changes the world, but you do. Because each of us has an infinite amount of love and kindness and compassion to bestow. One of our Unitarian Universalist beliefs is that there is no such thing as the Immaculate Conception of virtue. Good things will not always just happen when you need them to. We have to work at making good things happen. They need our involvement, our awareness, our recognition, if nothing else, to promote them. And we always have that power in the choice of how we act and how we interpret and how we process and our perspective. We always have a choice in everything we do to bless or curse the world. No matter how seemingly humble or insignificant the choice before us, we always have that choice to do what we will with our gifts. Each of us decides what we have, where we are, what we can do to bless or curse the world at any given moment. I think we need to remember this more consciously. Increasingly, many of our fellow citizens think that the word freedom means being unhindered and doing whatever they want whenever they want to. As the famous internet meme says, that's not freedom, that's adolescence. Real freedom is always double-sided. There's what you want to be free from, and there's what you will use your freedom for. What will you do with the free agency you possess? There are rights, but there are also, and this gets left out by some of our fellow citizens, there are responsibilities. They come together. In a sense, we human beings are staggeringly free just as we are. And that freedom is a powerful, powerful tool to be thought of and used with reverence and care. Being free means we are free to bless or curse the world. Your blessing the world may not make headlines or history books. You would never know about how my mom blessed people unless I told you this morning. But your blessing is just doing what you thought you needed to do or wanted to do with what you had at the time. Just like my mom did. No headlines, no history books. But I learned it. You never know who's going to pick up your lesson and thank you. Have gratitude for the blessing you bestow. We all hold this awesome power and ability to bless. And too often, perhaps, too many of us abdicate it. Each day in 1,000 interactions and conversations, we have the opportunity to bless or curse the world. May we remember that we are the vehicles of blessing, and let us choose to bless each other and the world around us. And let us choose to recognize the nice things that happen to us as the gifts and blessings that they are. Choosing to bless is choosing to love. In a world that can seem all too often to be division and pain and violence, let us claim and use the amazing power of blessing and gratitude and love, which we all have been given.